random for both of you.
Oh, yeah.
He'll talk more. He'll talk more.
No, I'll pass it to you.
Alright. Okay. What is being or can be done to attract businesses / jobs to Rush County and Rushville?
I'll let you start.
Okay. I would say that the number one thing is education. Education in the local school system, keeping kids engaged. What we're finding is that traditional kid from the 70s who just made a decision of whether they went off to college or got additional training or just went straight to the workforce. That's kind of a thing of the past. It doesn't really exist anymore. So most of the jobs nowadays involve, whether it be some type of college or technical training or something. So keeping people engaged in the workforce or engaged in education so that they're prepared for the workforce would probably be, I would say, the number one thing out there. And I'll throw it back to Brian and see if he's going to add to it or go to number two.
No, I think I'm going to add to it is the industrial park. I mean, that's one of the biggest things to try to give ourselves the opportunity to bring jobs. Was that investment a few years back? People often say, why is it empty? Well, one of the reasons is, we've not yet got someone there, but without it, we don't even have a prayer. I think when we started that, it was like 2013, and we had about 10% unemployment. We were driving towards smaller size factories at the time, and we had a grant from the federal government for about half of, what was it, 1.5 million, and we had to invest the other part. Since doing that, we've had 10 companies come in and take a look. Of those 10, I think we're still in the running for 2.
I'd like to say that we're actually telling the exact same story that I told earlier.
Oh, nice. So that just shows that we're on the same page. But so that's a critical piece. Seeing the amount of jobs that have had growth, like NTAT has been one that's grown a tremendous amount. Pioneer has grown again after seeing a drop. Healthy Roots is a new employer. Casey's is a new employer. Tractor Supply is a new employer. I think it's kind of amazing that we lost Walmart and our unemployment rate actually went down. I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing. So there are jobs coming, but I would say this: everybody always talks about jobs. The number one thing that we're hearing is workers.
Sure.
So to try to get those workers to fill those jobs, or to try to find workers with higher skills, you're seeing investments in like the Regional Training Center, partnering with Ivy Tech, trying to bring more education opportunities in with the city center. So there are a number of things that we're doing that I think are trying to attract jobs, but more importantly, trying to attract those workers, helping those workers get higher skill set. And research is saying workers want to live where it's kind of fun to live. So things like Riverside Park, addition to trails, those kind of things, I think would be ways. Did I answer one question, or was there a second one?
No, you did well. It was
okay,
good.
Perfect.
Good.
One of the things, and to add to kind of what Brian said, is one of the things that you have to think about is, like we talked prior to Brian coming in, is a lot of things we deal with are just math problems. They're just simple math. And so when people all the time say, especially on your comments, you're kind of basing your questions off comments you saw. A lot of people talk about jobs, like Brian said. We need more jobs. But the reality of it is we need a better workforce. That's what we need. And so when we look at it, whenever our community's unemployment is, let's say, in the 2s to 3s, that reality is that's somewhere around 300 people. Okay? So now we immediately go and say, okay, those 300 people, how many of those will pass a drug test? And statistics show that when you're at the level we're at right now, about 75% of those people will be eliminated, which leaves you with how many people? And then you say, okay, how many of those people were people that, were working at a gas station, or they were working at just a service job, and now all of a sudden you have jobs opening, and that job is to run a robot. Well, how many of those people can make that transition? So what you quickly run into is we may have the need for people say, well, there's 300 people out there available, but by the time you go through the math problem to get to the end, what you really end up with is you have 35 people. So,
okay.